Welcome to my first 2020 edition. This is season 3 of Real Talk Live with Miss Kathy. And today's topic is love and marriage. And I'm really anticipating some fun and great authentic conversation with my two guests. Today I have Angel Domingue. And if you check out the description of this video, you will find all of her links. And I also have John from the GoodSell Life here as well, and his links are listed below too. So let me bring my guest on, and then hopefully we can also invite others to join in and tell us their experiences that they've had with different relationships throughout their lives. There we go. All right. Okay, so you guys are on the YouTube panel now as well. And if you want to start, Angel, your mic is muted right now. So if you want to unmute that mic and then go ahead and tell the show a little about yourself.
Hey, I am Angel. Some of you guys know me from Hanging Out with Angel and Talking with Angel. Again, my YouTube channel is in the link. I reached out to Miss Kathy not too long ago about just talking about relationships and marriage, or if you're trying to get married, what have you, because I am a newlywed. I just got married September. Me and my husband have been together well over a year, but we're young in marriage, and I'm learning some things. So I'm one of these ladies that's been single for a long time. I was previously married and didn't know I was going to get married again. I was happy being single, but as I started getting up in age, I started feeling like I was ready to get out there and just start, dating and getting real. And I figured that I wanted to be married again. However, marriage is work, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I'm so glad the GoodSell Life is here with us. We have a guy, so we can kind of get not only a woman's perspective, but a guy's perspective on marriage. Things that we don't even think about, I'm going to go ahead and give it back to you, Miss Kathy. But one thing I did hear that I thought was really powerful is a woman said, marriage does not start when you say, I do. Marriage starts when you're looking at that person and you're hating them. You're really upset. You're fired up. And that's when you're like, oh, my God. You know what I'm saying? This is when the marriage begins, is when you're finding out some things you may not like in the person you married. Right?
Yeah, that's right. You've got the engagement, you've got the wedding, the ceremony, and then comes the marriage. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. Often when it comes to relationship, I always hear that people find themselves saying, oh, what I would, if I only knew then what I know now.
Exactly.
And hopefully we can resolve some of that. John, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself before we get too deep into our conversations?
All right. Well, me and my wife, we'll actually be celebrating 20 years of marriage in July.
Congratulations.
We met in youth group. We have been together. I'm 3 years older than her. So we have actually been together since she was 16 and I was 19, which, created some issues. Her parents were not real keen on that idea.
And even 20 years ago, but think of 20 years now, what would you do if Noah?
Well, I've got a 14-year-old daughter now, and I know at 16, there's no way I'd want her dating a 19-year-old guy. There's no way I'd want her dating. So, put it like that. So we, and as Angel said, it's work, and for us, we know that without the Lord, man, we would be in trouble. And so we, like I said, we met in youth group. I'm a youth pastor now. We both been, she's been involved in church longer than I have. But we know that without God, without his grace and his mercy, man, we would, because we're different people, and when two totally different people come together, there's conflict, there's trouble, there's issues. And so trying to work through those can be difficult. But for us, it was always, the Lord brought us together, and the Lord's going to keep us together. And so that's the philosophy we went with. And so far it's worked for us. And so,
Well, you are a great addition to this topic. Angel and I talked before, like, we don't want this to be a man bashing, husband bashing talk. You know, we need to get a guy in here and make sure it's equally balanced, joked, right?
But even after 20 years, you know, it still works.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
So Chris and I, my husband and I, will be celebrating our 28th in August. So yeah, it's definitely, it's
different issues than when you first get married, but there's always issues.
Yeah, Chris jokes all the time, and I would love for him to chime in. He is home working down in the basement, but he'll say all the time, we've been married 28 years. He's been happily married 10.
Yeah.
Well, what my husband's pastor wife told us is, she said, you know, which really helped, was you're getting to learn one another. You're getting to learn each other, you know, just learn each other. So every time we get into a rut, I always remember, okay, I'm learning, I'm getting to know this about this person. Because sometimes there's just things you don't know before you live together. There's just some things that come up, even 2-3 years, I'm quite sure.
Yeah.
When you start getting pressed in certain aspects or issues, then you kind of start seeing people's personality change, you know, during what the issue is. So you don't.
I think it's changed with the generations. In fact, I think statistics show, like 30 years ago, I mean, people were staying married for 30 years before divorce, and now it's 3 years and they're divorced.
Oh, yeah.
I think even Christian churches and, you know, are encouraging living together before marriage. Like, I've seen that happening now, because there's so much learning involved in when you know, become roommates.
Exactly.
and they quit too early. I would like to begin with just saying thank you for coming, and thank you, Angel and John, for sharing this out. This is an unlisted stream right now, and the reason is I have been on YouTube for quite some time, since 2010, and I am a teacher that is retired, and sometimes God gives me an inkling to do something, and I try really hard to jump on it, and I really feel like I want to encourage and inspire other people, but it really takes a real conversation to do that. And I love that we have this technology now today that I can invite you guys into my living room and really get into some good conversation. But a lot of times, for it to be authentic and for others to really be inspired and encouraged by it, they need to hear the trueness of it. And when I go live, I tend to have young students come in. I tend to have family members coming in. I tend to have people that come in that I'm not trusting or aware of. And I want it to be a safe, controlled environment, so that when I have my real talks, they can be real, they can be live, but they can also be controlled and safe for myself and for my guests. So then I'll have the ability to download it, edit it into a real inspiring talk that can be shared publicly. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put the link into the chat, and as we discuss and get into different things, pop up, and we will let you speak your voice too.
Yeah, come in, and then and if you don't want to show your face, you could just block the stop cam, and we can still hear you. Because your sister needs some help. I just got married. I'm a newlywed. You guys are professionals.
You know, and Angel, you and I have talked. Let's go ahead and get into it, because Angel's been on live streams before, and I just want to say, I love your personality. I have, like with John too, we have that Christian fellowship going. You know, it's really good to feel like you can communicate and trust a fellow Christ follower. But you were talking about the other day about sharing the remote control, and I had to chime in, and I'm like, Angel, when are we going to have our talk? Because even when you were seeking to be married and to find a man, you and I have talked over the last year and a half about what it takes to be married and what it takes to find a really good guy.
Right. And you know what? Like I was telling somebody, you have to be in your rightful place. You know, God says, he who finds a good wife find a good thing. He says he. So, you know, women really shouldn't be out there looking for no, you know what I'm saying? You should be in your rightful place, prepared to find out what it is you need, what you, like for me, I had to deal with a lot of stuff in my first marriage when I wasn't saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Spirit, right? I had to deal with some of the resentments, because you don't want to bring that stuff in your new marriage. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't really looking, you know. After that marriage, I kind of dated and things like that. And I was happy. I was really happy single. It wasn't up until about maybe 2 years God started putting in my spirit, you know, that I should have a mate. And I fought it for a long time. I will say this. The reason why God was dealing with me with my relationship, because as you guys know, as Christians, God is a father of restoration. He wants to restore us, right? He knew I was the marrying kind. I was the marrying kind, but I was scared of being hurt as I was in my first marriage. So I put this brick wall up and it got bigger and thicker. And I mean, I could meet the best men in the world and I was so numb. Like, how you doing? I could be kind and sweet and nice, but marriage, nope. I can go out for coffee. We can hang out. But the minute things started getting romantic, cut off. So as I started getting, um, closer to God, that's when I started realizing, you know what? We need to deal with this. You know what I'm saying? You need to deal with your fears because, God doesn't give us fear, but we're human. So I had to go through that. And I just said, Lord, look, if it be your will, I promise I'll take this down. But don't, you know what I want? I want a man of God, a God-fearing man, a good man, a kind man, gentleman. And I got all of that. But give me my remote. No, I'm just kidding. But you're going to go through stuff. Oh, and when we first got together, he was in his word for hours, right? Wow. We would have dates to do things. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, babe, and I had to think about that's what you wanted. So that's another thing. Being with a man of God is perfect for me, but there are some things with that as well. You know what I'm saying? So, he's than me, so he's more been there, done that. So he's always like, babe, that's you're not supposed to be doing that.
And those annoying things they do, like making noise while you're trying to live stream it.
So I don't know who I'm talking to in the chat, but if you have that attitude that I had, dealing with, bad, relationships, we don't want to give up. We can't put everybody in the same basket. And even now being married, I'm thinking, man, I wish I would have, brought down that wall a long time ago because I really enjoy being married. I love being married. I really do. I really enjoy having that person with me, someone to build with, because I really wanted a companion. But when you start going through the, like we were talking about throwing the stuff on the floor or you start seeing a selfish behavior that may not really be selfish behavior. Because another thing is the way you need to be loved. If someone doesn't show you in that way, it doesn't mean they don't love you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Everybody has their own way of showing you love. And right. I'm learning that.
Yeah, the 5 languages. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about.
Let's talk about it.
So there's 5 love languages. Dr. Gary Chapman wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't read the book, it's great to just take the quiz online to find out your own love language and your partner's love language. There are 5.
Do you have the link? You can add it. You can probably add it.
I will definitely do that. So you have 5. So my love language is quality time. So if my husband spends good quality time with me, I feel loved. If I'm ignored, and I feel like he doesn't love me.
Okay.
For example, so an example of acts of service. A lot of times, though, we want to love someone the way we feel loved. So there's 5. So there's quality time, acts of service, receiving gifts.
Okay, now when you say acts of service, what is that?
Doing the dishes.
Vacuuming the house.
Well, we have to break it down.
Putting out the trash. Doing things for someone. Receiving gifts, and it could be a card. It could be bring me a cup of coffee. It could be, I love gifts too. I mean, I'm a little bit of everything. I'm kind of high maintenance.
I think everybody's a little bit of everything.
Yes, they are. Name the 5 first. So we have quality time, acts of service, receiving gifts, physical touch, and words of affirmation.
Okay.
So what I have found through the past 5 years of learning these 5 love languages is that we tend to love someone with what we feel loved by. So if, for instance, if you're acts of service, if you really feel love when someone does something for you, you tend to do things for others thinking that you can love them that way. But it doesn't work that way, because although I'm taking out the trash or vacuuming out his car or putting his tools away or picking up his clothes and doing his dishes and doing his laundry, he doesn't feel loved by any of that. And I might be thinking, I'm doing all this stuff for you.
Right?
You know, what the heck? But, you know, my husband's love language is physical touch. And it's not just, doesn't have to do with just having sex all the time,
Right.
although he does love to have sex.
Right,
It's if you're that kind of person that just wants to touch someone all the time when you're talking to them, put your hand on their shoulder, you know, walk by them and give them hugs, even if it's two men, high fiving all the time. Or let me tell you a story, you know, and you grab someone's hand. A lot of people have that. That's what's that called? Personal space, personal bubble. So for someone who is, their love language is physical touch, and they meet someone who has that, you need that hula hoop around you. You're like, please stop touching me. And I have a personal bubble, but my husband's love language is physical touch. So he's constantly touching me, constantly near me. And I'm just like, stop.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just have to
great.
find boundaries and figure out, you know, if you really, truly love someone. I often hear that quote that says, if you always want to win an argument, you have to live with the loser. Someone has to lose it, right? Someone has to lose. It's not no fun living with the loser. So you got to have some give and take, you know?
Right. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. The important thing is with the 5 love languages, it's not just for marriages either. I mean, it's in, you know, any of your relationships when you're dealing with people as, you know, friends or whatever, you know, and obviously it looks different than it will in your marriage, but yeah, for those friends and any of those relationships, I mean, it's to figure out somebody's love language. And, you know, I mean, it brightens your day when somebody does your, you know, what it is that means the most to you. So.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, words of affirmation is huge for people who are on social media, because you can say kind things and leave a good comment or a hateful comment, and it affects that person deeply.
Right.
Other people, it might just brush off like it ain't no skin on my back. You know, I don't care what they say. But for someone who has that love language of words of affirmation, it really, truly matters what you say to them.
But I love that you brought this up. I've never heard of the 5 love languages, but this all makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
it's big. I think that you and your hubby there should take that quiz online.
I will.
20 minutes
max. Yeah, like yesterday, I said, oh, babe, I missed you. And he says, you missed me? He goes, but why you didn't call? And I thought about it. And I just was like, and he's looking at me, and I'm like a deer in headlights. Working? He goes, yeah, but you have a break. I mean, if you miss me, you should call. I said, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. Right?
Remi's going to come up, so that would be
good
to have another guy say.
Remi, I'd love to have you come up. But yeah, things like that.
It's hard starting out too. Like John, I know if you can attest to this, because I've got one boy that's been married a year now. This past August was a year.
It doesn't seem like it's been that long.
But I have another boy that's getting married in March, and not only that, but he's actually is living with his fiance right now and their 4-year-old child, and they're not married yet and getting ready to have a new child. She is pregnant and they have a baby coming. But he's been coming over to the house and saying some things that, you know, make a lot of sense to my husband and I when we first met and were 20 something and moved in together and got married and moved in together. But they're moving in now before their marriage, and he's venting about a lot of stuff because they've never lived with anyone. They've never had a roommate other than a brother or sister, you know. And
so this is
they're
not
struggling.
Well, yeah, because they never have lived on their own. So here they are together, and then with the baby and with the stress with that is, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, I think they've dealt themselves a rocky road to start out with, but
I hope they get married.
What John said, you know, with Christ, they're going to make it. I really believe in that third braided cord, because I've lived in a marriage without Christ, and it was hard. It was really, really hard. So.
Yeah. And I would never do that again, ever, 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 ever.
Yeah, but I mean, in reality, it's out there. There's many, many people that don't know Christ yet, and there's many, many marriages that aren't Christ filled.
Right.
And some are successful, and some aren't.
That's true. That's true. But for me, I'm just saying, for what I know now, than when I had my first marriage. Because when I first got married, I was really, I wanted to be married. I was only 20 something years old at in college, and I really fell hard. Yeah, this is my first love. We got married, and I really wanted to stay married. And when he started getting into drinking and partying, and he wasn't like that before, it was really hard to go with that, because, we were always taught, you work things out with your marriage. You weren't just jumping ship. So I spent a lot of years trying to keep that thing. If I would have known now, I would have known it would have never worked. You
Yeah.
can't, nobody changed.
Yeah.
Right?
John, what would you tell a young couple who's wanting to get married? What advice would you give them? They're really in love and they know they're the one and they're ready.
I strongly recommend. I'm actually, my cousin's getting married in July and asked me to do the ceremony. And our pastor at church, I told him, I said, well, I'll do it, but you got to go through premarital counseling. And me and my wife did that premarital counseling with our pastor. And I strongly recommend that because, the thing is when we are in love, we don't see the faults.
Right.
We don't see, we don't think about, man, the money issues that are going to come up and some of that stuff. Are you, as the Bible says, equally yoked? Are you the same? You believe the same things? Do you have the same faith? What's your stance on children? Do you both want to have children? Do you both not want to have children? There's so many of those things that we're just all googly eyed over somebody, just
Right.
staring longingly into their eyes, that we don't think about all those things. Where are you going to live? All of that. And
Right.
so that premarital counseling and outside party can help us go through that stuff and think about that stuff.
Especially for 20 some odd, young 30s that are getting married is I don't know if it attests to you, Angel, getting married in your 50s, but when you marry young, you don't marry the person, you marry the family. And you need to know what the family is that you're marrying. Because
wow, that's big.
you're going to become a new brother or sister.
But I always cling on to that scripture. Once you get married, you cling on to your husband and your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the thing is how we're raised affects who we are.
Right.
And so you can look at a family, and if the family has dysfunction, if the family's like this, you've got to be aware that you're going to run into that stuff. You're going to be dealing with some of those issues. We always think of, I'm just marrying my wife, and you're that family's still going to be a part of that, and so.
And these are the things that you need to discuss with your partner, because you need to say, so when, talk about the hard stuff before the hard stuff happens. Like, so when we go to Christmas and your family has like this great political or religious topic and everybody starts fighting and throwing things, and how do we react as a couple when that happens? Because it's going to happen. And so if you approach this stuff before and you work out your communication with your partner, are we going to leave? Are we going to sit there and let it happen? Are we going to talk about it later? Are we going to, how are we going to react? Or instead of actually react, how are we going to respond to this? Not react to it. John, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the things that were struggling for you in the beginning?
Yeah, it was actually, because Kelly and I we were both still in college. We got married, both working. So we didn't face a lot of the issues because we never saw each other when we first got married, between school and work. And we were working different times and all that. And so, we saw each other, but we were on different schedules a lot early on. And so I think we missed a lot of those problems because of that. But it is, I'm an opinionated person, and so, and again, it's things that, my mom always did it this way, or this is the way we always did it on the holidays.
Right.
And,
That could make her mad because she's like, I'm not
right.
wrong. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
Well, right. Yeah.
Well,
And I never did that. It was just like all of a sudden she's cooking things that I've never eaten before. And I'm like, what is this?
Right.
It's, so things like that. I mean, it's just, it's little things, that think it's so simple. It's so, why the big deal? But it's those little things that over and over and over again that become big things, and so it's important to be able to talk through that. And again, it's compromise, it's going into it realizing that, as you said, she's not my mom. She's different.
Right.
And I'm not her dad, and that, those things that we grab onto,
Right.
and just you got to be able to just kind of to go with the flow sometimes. So
Hey, Remi, nice to have another male up here.
I love
Hey.
that hat. I love that hat.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, and it's so funny because when you said that, well, my mom does things like, it's not like you're saying anything wrong. You're just being honest.
Yeah.
But
it's different. It's just,
Miss A says, "Oh,
Take
don't
it off.
even pull the my mom card."
oh, you're trying to get me to be like your mama?
and I
So,
don't think
and you know what?
I
I'm
don't think
having
I
that
ever-
problem right now because my son is introducing us to a young woman who does have a 4-year-old boy and is now pregnant with my grandson, and she's been independent since she was 15, and he's been coming and venting a little bit to mom and dad, and I stopped it because I know. I mean, I've been through it. She's been very independent, since she was 15, but he'll say, well, my mom would do this, and I stopped him. I said, I just met this girl in October, and I thought, oh Lord, let's just not go there. Please do not tell her what I would do. I am trying to build a relationship with her. You're going to ruin it by telling her what I would do.
I know, right. So she has a kid from a previous relationship, and then now with your son.
Yes.
Oh wow, that's hard.
Yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
doing
Miss Kathy, that is the important thing, is on your part to say, don't do that. Don't compare me. Don't
Right.
make it about that, because that does create a lot of those issues in a relationship, or it can, the in-laws or I remember when we were doing our premarital counseling, the in-laws are the outlaws, depending on what kind of relationship you have with them, and kind of those issues that can come up by trying to compare your marriage to your parents' marriage, or the way they do things and stuff. And it's difficult, like I said, because you're raised, I mean, for me, her parents had been divorced. My parents are still married. They celebrated, I think they're 45 years or something. I don't remember how many.
Wow, that's great.
And so,
Wow.
but you've got that. So she's got two different sets of parents. I've got my one, and it's just trying to make sure that I mean, they made mistakes, making sure that we don't make those mistakes, making sure that we don't compare our marriage to the way they do things, because it's not the same. It's different. It's, when they were first getting married, it was, way before, different times, just like you said, even now compared to 20 years ago, it's different times. And so,
men were taking care of their wife. Both didn't have to always work.
Right.
They really took care of the kids. Everybody was in their rightful nature. Women were women, men were men. Now you got this thing going on,
Yeah.
Which is
and some
fine.
of that is also, I mean, the country we live in, the prices are way different than they were back then too. That, inflation, things have made it harder for just one person to work. I mean, you can do it, but it does make it more difficult. So
Yeah.
It does. It really does. Yeah. So how you doing, Remi?
Doing all right.
Tell us a little bit about you, Remi. Are you married?
Yes, I'm married.
Yeah. How long have you been married?
About, oh God. Now see, I'm gonna look bad.
Well, I remember you
like
got
3
married not
years.
too long. Yeah, it hasn't been that long. Yeah.
Okay, so you are very new.
He's a
Okay.
newlywed too. I mean, hey, 1 to 5, you are a babe in there, right?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot to learn, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you find? I mean, just in the beginning stages to now, what do you feel that can be a struggle sometimes in your marriage?
In my marriage, just finding time.
Time.
finding time. There was a lot of, because you may, like in my relationship, like there's been weeks where like maybe I get to see 8 hours
Wow.
worth of, George or whatever, because he's
Right.
working all the time or whatever. So it can be weird. Like time was the biggest thing. That was
And
a
you know
huge
what?
thing.
I was watching this thing because I'm the same as you. I work 2 jobs and I do ministry and I visit my mom in the Bay Area. So my time is like I took today off to do this, right? So I only have one day off. And I was watching this show and it was about these men and why they cheat on their women. And I remember the guy said the reason why was because I never seen my wife. He goes, she was always gone. And then it kind of reminded me of my husband. He says, and when I would call her, she would be really, and I said, well, that's what I do. Because when he calls, I'm like, oh, babe, I got a customer. Oh, And I said, wow, so time is so important. You know what I'm saying? Not that we give people any excuses to go outside the marriage, but we have to really be there for that person because you're supposed to become as one. So
Right.
You really shouldn't feel left out. But you don't think about that. And I work 2 jobs not because I have to. It's because I'm an opportunist.
Yeah.
Not enough to run somebody over, but I'm like, wow, you'll pay me to do that? Well, I just want some money, put it away. So I'm just, and I had to talk to my husband about that because we had just got married, and he was like, wow, And I had to tell him, hey, this would be a great idea of something. These things happen, right? What's one of the biggest things that happen in marriages? Finances. So if you have an opportunity to put some finances away, you should. But I had to get him on the same page, right? But at the same time, he has needs, right? He wants to spend
Finances are another thing, man. You talk about compromises there. Finances, time. But like you're saying about the time, definitely, it. I needed more time than George did, and that's another thing. Some people may need more. May want more attention, may need more time, may need more sex, whatever. These things need to really be, addressed with each other so you have a good, clear understanding of what each other needs, and that will really, keep you there with your spouse instead of maybe get a wandering eye or find yourself spending all your time with someone else.
Right? Because if you're not there really, realistically, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's not a marriage. It's not a relationship.
Yeah.
So you really have to.
It is important to plan for conflict, like talk about the things that are going to come up, before they come up.
Say the things you're afraid to say. Just put them out there. The things that you don't want to say, go ahead and say those. Get those out there because the better you know each other, the closer you'll be.
Yeah, I feel like a bully though, because I do that, Remi. I can't hold back. I gotta go in.
I can't either. I'm so honest. It'll come out.
Yeah, I'm not mean or I'm just I don't holler or curse and all that. I just tell it like it is. Like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And just say how I feel.
You can say it very respectfully and in a way that won't offend your partner,
Right.
You can. You really can. I think you can say anything if you just sit there and you find the proper way to word it so that, you really don't just lay into a person, but you take them to the place you are so they can see it for themselves.
Sometimes you can think someone is so sweet and nice and kind and she's with the Lord, but getting that flesh, you get a flesh. Right, GoodSell Life. You know what I'm talking about when you get that flesh.
Oh yeah.
And then you go, that's why I need Jesus. That's why I need you, God. Thank you. And then my favorite, there's no condemnation those who are in Christ Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you're right, Remi. We have to spend time, and I like what Miss Kathy's saying is knowing. See, you just said what your love language is, time, right? So,
Remi, have you ever taken that love language quiz? I did put the link to the love language quiz in the chat.
I have not.
If anybody wants to take that.
I have not. Today was the first time I'd heard of it.
Yeah, and wasn't it good? I love knowledge. Something that you can because that answers a lot of questions. Now I know what is his love language. Well, I know he liked for me to call. He said action. You say you love me, but you ain't called me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely find out. I asked my boys both and their girls to figure it out, when they first started dating. It's good to do when you're dating too.
So
Get to know.
what is your love language, Mr. GoodSell Life?
Um, I don't know exactly. It would probably be the main one would probably be touch. It probably would. It's just um, having my wife putting her hand on my back or anything. I mean, that's just it's still, like I said, 20 years later, it makes my heart melt when she does those things. But yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that'd be the main one. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, it's kind of a little bit of everything, but I think
And
that would be
what's so hard is when you find out, so when I took the quiz, what it does is it numbers the levels. So I'm just going from 10 to 1, but I think it's like 50, but I'm a 1 on the physical touch. And my husband's like, that's his number 1. So,
Wow.
Oh, wow.
so I have to remind myself that he needs to know that I love him by touching him.
Yeah.
And it's so important for me to be reminded of that. And honestly, we're going on 28 years, and this is something that's just new to us the last 5 years. So can you imagine how often I was not telling my husband that I love him?
Wow.
By quality time, or just spending time with him constantly. And he's probably like, I got work to do. Seriously, you're trying to talk my ear off right now. And I'm just like, I'm here. I want to tell you everything about my day and everything I've done. And
I know. Yeah.
So for him to put his phone down and look at me while I want to tell him maybe a 5-minute story, I so love it. I mean, I'm ready to just take off my clothes and be with him all night. That's all he has to do.
But see, if you know the love language, you can get what you want.
That's right. It is definitely worth it to use it.
Right.
Yeah. I do think that. I think it is often that we're opposites, and so we do have to work extra. Because like Miss Kathy, like you had said earlier, you think that if you're doing what your love language is, that he's gonna that's his too, and it's not always that way. It's usually something like you said, whatever's the lowest on yours, maybe the highest on his, and and so opposites, and so we do have to work at it, and we do have to get outside our comfort zone because of that love that we have for them, and we want to make sure that they know it, they know that we love them. So
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's so many that are now they fear marriage. Like Angel, you said you waited a long time, but you were fine being single.
I was scared.
Oh, I fear marriage.
What is the fear? Let's talk about that. Why is there such a fear?
Because
Divorce.
I'm very sensitive.
Legal. It's not the legal part.
And
The
when I
legal
love,
aspects.
yeah, not even that. It's just when I love. I go all in. I'm all in. If we're together, I'm thinking about you and me, our future, what I can do, and I go in. You know what I'm saying? I don't play games, and then when you get with somebody who's immature in relationships, or they're not really honest, or maybe they don't know, right? When things go wrong, you have to repair it. You have to get yourself back together. And after that I told you I didn't want to get divorced the first time I was married. So when I went through that whole thing, oh my God, that was so painful. Your first love just ripped your heart out. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it was. I mean, that I should have probably went to therapy, right? But
I mean, I definitely think therapy is very important, and I think that what's the Bible say? A fool does not seek counsel.
Right, absolutely.
And
I was in a lot of pain, so I never forgot that. So whenever I would meet people, or I always remembered, okay, don't guard your heart. But it came to a point where it's okay, because the Bible talks about people who are not the marrying kind. And it's okay. But I was. And see, when you're serving God and you're working in the kingdom and you have a relationship with God, it's just like your child. You know what your child wants, but you want him or her to let you in. You know what I'm saying? So you can bless that person. So for me, I was in fear of being hurt again. And just going through the whole thing, everything in a relationship that crumbles.
Mhm.
And it took me years to trust, And when I got into this marriage, I had a nice talk with God, and I just said, "Look, I promise I will drop this." And I told God exactly what I wanted. He showed me who my husband was, you know, and I said I'd be honest. I wouldn't play games.
Miss A says communication is key, and it really is.
It really is, Miss A.
It's before, during, and forever. And you're going to change. You're not going to, when you get married, you're not going to be married to the same person. I mean, every 5 years, things change, finances change. You bring children into the picture, or you bring new jobs. You need to move. Your priorities change. You have to constantly communicate. What's that?
I was laughing because I'm like, I ain't going to be pregnant at 50.
Pregnant at 50.
I better be quiet.
You know what? Not pregnant, but let's talk about pets. I mean, tell me about some of the challenges you faced when your husband moved in with you and you had your dogs. And
the pet challenge.
We're still going through it with because he knew I had Bella and Stella, my two babies. Let me show you this is how close me and Bella and Stella are. See?
Oh, right at your feet.
Right at my feet. And for 12 years. They'll be 12 tomorrow, by the way.
Oh.
12. So they've been with me. So when we finally moved in, he was like, I really don't like the dogs on the bed. And I said, well, they've been on the bed for 12 years. How about we keep them on the end of the bed, because we have a big king bed, and they'll stay there. And if we get intimate and things like that, of course, they'll go outside. No big deal. No problem. Everything was cool. But Bella, me and her like this. And Bella likes to be right beside me, right? So Bella would creep up, every night she'd get closer to me. And then he was like trying to move around in the bed. And he got Bella here, Stella here. And he was just like, babe, I can't sleep with these dogs like this. So I kept saying, okay, well, just move them put them to the bottom, put them to the bottom. And then one day, Bella comes from outside, jumps on the bed, rubs her butt on the little comforter. He was like, babe, look at this. Okay. I don't want them on the bed. All right. So finally, but it took a lot of work because, she's crying. She wants to come on the bed, and I'm feeling bad because it's like, so we had to go through that. So, I mean, it's kind of hard because you have to compromise, right? So, so that was a hard thing, but now they sleep in my room on their big bed and they're happy. And when I'm out here, I come out with them, when I'm off, and I say, come on, girls, so yeah, but things like that, because he didn't have dogs, and I get it. I was used to him, so I know how to deal with my dogs, but he's like, you know what? I don't like this. And he loves not having the dogs on the bed. And I'm just like, Bella would come in, like this morning, she was crying like at 5 a.m. She wants to eat. Bella, go lay down. And I'm thinking, come on, man. Because he doesn't have the relationship that I have with my dogs. Same like if you have kids, and the other person doesn't. You know what I'm saying? It's just learning how to deal with stuff.
Yeah. You're getting a call. We got a caller.
Hey, this is Angel and Miss Kathy. Who are we speaking with?
You're speaking with Big Goddess 1111.
Hey. All right. So what you want to share with us? Now, you've been married 11 years. Is that correct?
We met in 2008. So that's 12 years now, I believe.
So what kind of things have you felt that you had to kind of work on to get your marriage to where you made it 11 years? And congratulations.
Thank you. So one of the things that I had to do was practice being more open because I was scared.
Okay, now
at first.
Yeah. Now when you say open, like in what aspect?
Like growing up, I was like pretty sheltered, and my mom was kind of weird. So,
right.
So when it came to like being like more open and optimistic, and being able to like
express yourself,
be free, express myself and feel good in what I do, I had to, let him in more.
So you kind of came in.
So closed off.
Yeah, you kind of came in a little bit insecure and kind of probably quiet, huh?
Yes, I was very quiet, but when I first met him, he kind of helped me to not be so like shy and so
Wow.
like closed in. So
You had to build a trust.
Yeah, you had to build a trust. Now, how
exactly.
was he really outgoing and
Yes, he's very outgoing.
nice? And
Yeah.
do you guys have kids?
We have 3 daughters,
Wow. And how old?
10, 6, and 4.
Wow. And congratulations to you. So what other areas, like even now in your marriage, where do you find where things get a little sticky?
When it comes to, I guess, the friendship area type thing, you know how he has, you know, if I want to have like guys as friends, or if he wants to have girls as friends, and being able to set those correct boundaries.
Right.
I feel like that's always a thing, because we're both quite young, and then so I kind of have to be ready, you know.
Wow.
We're still kind of like in that age group where I don't know how to explain.
But you know what, Fit Goddess, I don't know if anybody really gets comfortable with a friend at any 20 years married. You know, how do you guys feel about that? Because I'm like, no friends.
You know, it's for me, it's a very good point she said. And as far as I don't have a lot of women friends. I've always interacted more with males. I have 4 older brothers. It's just I relate more with guys. And my husband knew that when he met me. So that's again, that the communication is so important, and your priorities and what your activities are. You know, what do we do on our free time? You know, when we're not together, when we're not all in love like we are right now, what are we going to do when we're not around each other? And that has to be communicated.
Exactly.
But just, I mean, 26, 7 years, it's been a couple of years now. My husband started a new hobby and started playing with a female, playing sport with a female. And they wanted to start traveling together. And I did not like that.
Oh, absolutely not.
And
my husband's not allowed to have women call, period. He cannot have no women call his phone, period. I think it's very disrespectful for a woman to call another. Just like if I'm talking to GoodSell and his wife, I would address his wife first. You know what I'm saying? I'm just old school.
Yeah,
You know,
but I mean, it's good. These are the things that have to be communicated with the 2 partners. Yeah, I've had people on YouTube ask me, what does your husband think of you being on live stream with all these guys? You know, I've had people ask me that, and I say, it's a very good question, but he's very trusting and he's open to it. And
it's online.
I always say, he's in the other room. You want me to bring him out? You can ask him.
And then flash the camera.
Right. And that's one of the things that we're trying to work on, because like my husband, he works going in houses of other people, and I have become very comfortable with that.
Right.
But my friends will be online, so it's kind of like finding that compromise and finding that balance to where we both can make sure feelings of jealousy or insecurity doesn't pop up. You know, finding that trust.
Right.
And trusting each other. Yeah.
Right, because you do find really amazing people, just like me and Remi. Me and Remi been friends now for over a year online, and I can talk to go in his, he could be playing music, me and him could be talking back and forth, and there'll be nothing will ever happen because we're friends and we have a respect. But there are these people that purposely look for married people, and they like to be with people who are married. It's just the way it is.
True.
So you have to be very careful that you don't get caught up, emotionally tied with somebody, because your husband and you are as one. So there's no.
I think it's very important that there are never secrets.
Absolutely not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You should never do something that you're trying to hide, because if you're hiding it, then it's probably not something you should be doing.
Yeah, it's not fair to your husband, and it's not fair to us,
or wife, or friends, or any relationship.
As a person either, because you're like hurting yourself as well, having to not being able to express yourself freely the way that you would like to, because you don't want to hurt your partner.
Right.
But that's even more pressure on yourself.
And I don't know, I could be wrong, but from my experience with men don't like that. They really don't. They don't want their women spending a lot of time with men.
Yeah.
They just don't.
I mean,
Right.
it's definitely, I'm glad that she brought that up because it's definitely a good thing to talk about, especially for marriage or any relationship, is secrecy. Usually when something's wrong, it's being hidden. And that's when you have to be willing to ask yourself, why am I hiding this? But maybe it's fear of, I don't think they're going to like what I'm doing. It's rejection.
Absolutely.
So maybe,
Yeah, and you should, they should know who these people are that you're talking to, and not feel like it's a secret or something you do when they're not around. So it makes people, it brings that insecurity, and you don't want people to start feeling that way. It's just not right in your marriage. No, that's an excellent thing you brought up.
Foundation.
Because that's one of the first things me and my husband dealt with in the beginning, because he's not a pastor, but he's under the pastor basically. So he, a lot of women like for him to pray, but there was a lot of women that really liked him, and I could see it. And I'm like, babe, you know what? I think when we get married, they can go to their pastor. You know what I'm saying? So he was fine, and we made an agreement. When I minister to women, and he ministers to men, and that's how we made an agreement in our relationship. Because I'm very jealous, and he's very jealous, and that's just the way it is. So we have a great understanding with that. So he had no problem shutting that phone off and getting a whole new number and saying, we're starting over. I don't want just, no women calling.
That's wonderful.
Well, we have to, because I told you I brought down that wall. And when that wall came down,
but that's true love, when you're willing to sacrifice something for the other.
We have to have, and this is what you have to talk about in relationships, because men will come up. Well, how you doing, Sister Angel? Whoop de whoop whoop. See, I just went to a Christmas dinner. Let me tell you this. I just went to this Christmas dinner, right? And my husband came for the first time. And there was a guy there that came, and my husband just got up to go get something to eat. And the guy sat there. He just sat there. And I said, oh, my husband's sitting there. And he goes, oh, okay. And he's talking and talking. Well, then Robert comes back, and he's standing behind him. And I was like, oh, boy, because I know how he is. And I go, oh, this is my husband. And he's like, oh, hi. And he's like, do you have a wife? I'm thinking, oh. And he looked, and he goes, yeah, over there. And he kind of looked at him like, well, go. You need to get up. Right. And he said, he thought this was very rude. He said, did you tell him that I was sitting here? I go, yeah, I told him. Then me and him kind of got into a little, and I'm thinking, what do you do? I mean, you tell the people. But he just sat up there like, oh, well, I'm thinking, oh, boy, you ain't met Robert. But yeah, things like that happen, so you have to let them know ahead of time, we're not going to do this. You're not going to be calling men on your phone or giving your phone number out to men. You just don't do that,
I totally get where he's coming from.
Oh, he don't play. Well, he has issues with that, So yeah, you kind of know what you want, and I know how I am. I'm thinking, look, if we're gonna do this, I've waited this long. We gotta do this. We gotta work this thing out.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have these women, lining up. I need prayer. I need prayer. Go get your pastor. Go get your pastor. Yeah. Next thing you know, they'll be at the door. And Robert here, I really need to pray, Sister Angel. I need to get up out my house. Come on,
I think it's very important, as the way you said, Angel, at the very beginning of the relationship, for there to be a clear understanding of what both people are wanting in the relationship, and that it needs to be as often as it needs to be revisited.
Right, and also,
I have friends my age group who have gotten into marriages, and they don't even know where it's going. It's just they're just together, and that's it.
Right,
so
right.
Sad, so.
And keeping it. And what do you guys do to keep the spice up? You guys been married 20-something years. Me and Remi are babes. Now, come on, Goddess. You guys let us know. What are you guys doing to keep the spice in the marriage?
Well, I like to do like mini surprises and mini like vacations,
okay.
And also cooking different varieties of foods, or what else do I do? I mean, just make sure when he comes home from work, I'm understanding of that he just was gone all day and had to be around a whole bunch of other energies. So he's probably tired. So I try my best to be understanding at the same time, expecting the same from him because I'm at home with three children. So it's both sides being understanding of each person's, what they do during the day. Because it's like you have your life together, but you also have your life separate from each other.
Right.
That you have to deal with other people and stuff. So
and you're dealing with the
keep that
babies.
in mind.
Yeah. So
that was one of my hardest things when Chris and I started having children. And, you know, we were young, and I even didn't discuss like who was going to be who was going to give the kids baths, and who was going to put the kids to bed, and who was going to feed the kids, and who was going to make dinner, and who was going to do the laundry. And
I can't even imagine adding kids to the mix. I had
it was
so much
hard,
problem
and
with
I had
time.
I constantly, I remember telling my husband so many times he heard this, I'm not a puppy dog that's going to wag my tail every time you walk in the door. You know, I used to say that because I think he used to think that, oh, when you come in the door, you know, you need to greet me. And you know, the kids would run and go, Daddy. And I'd be like, oh, thank God he's home. You know,
right.
he would often wonder, like, why aren't you running to the door to greet me? I'm like,
But again, that's his,
I'm ready for you to take them kids away from me.
Yeah. You're the
But
reason
again,
why I
that's his-
got these
that's
munchkins, these crumb snatches.
that's that physical touch that his love language, physical touch. That,
Yeah.
Well, let me
Again,
ask you this.
Exactly.
Now, Goddess, you having 3 babies. Have you ever felt like maybe not being as appreciated, you know, being home with the babies? Did you feel
all the time? But I talk it up as kind of like I have to just kind of let him know. I feel like guys, especially him, he's like, I don't know if you do anything with like astrology. He's a Capricorn, and he works a lot.
Oh, he's a Capricorn?
Very focused on building. So I have to remind him, like, hey, don't you just realize I was up all night with 2 sick kids, you know?
right?
You know, kind of like that. But
And then he's thinking, well, don't you know I've been working all day trying to support the family. So you got 2 dynamics going on here.
Exactly.
So you have to keep those little, I think you're right with those little mini vacations. He probably loves that.
yes, they're not too big. They're just kind of like 20 minutes, 15 minutes away from the house. But
Well,
we're
that's
out of
okay.
the house, so
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to take off, but I did want to say that, you know, we've talked a lot about problems and issues, but marriage is a good thing. It's not just problems. It's not just complications. You know, I just don't want anybody listening to this thing going, man, marriage just sounds like it sucks. Marriage is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
It really is.
It is.
It really is. It really is.
Blessing.
Before you get off GoodSell Life, what is so wonderful about it?
Well, I mean, for me, you know, and I look at, I mean, we know people that, you know, they're going out and doing the dating thing, and like you said, the trying to find that person. Oh, man, I'm so glad I don't have to worry about that. I've got a wonderful wife that loves me, that takes care of me, that, you know, not that I can't, but does things for me, that looks after me, that helps. I mean, we serve together in church, and just that blessing of knowing that there's somebody there. When I'm having a bad day, she's there. When I'm having a good day, she's there. You know, I mean, it's just having somebody there. You know, and it's so much. It's tough to put it into words. You know, all the things that
we were built to have a companion. We were, you know, and it is so important to appreciate that companion and work together. And I've said so many times, Angel, how many times have I told you the grass is not greener; it's only greener when you water it. Yeah. And you have to water and you know cherish that one companion that you waited forever to find. You know, I mean, it's that partner that you want. That partnership. We were built to have a partnership, to have a relationship, and once you get it, you can't just constantly try to change. You know, you got to grow together, and it is a beautiful thing. Marriage is a beautiful thing. I said that many times, and it's also important to have someone that's trusting, that you can go to the issues with. If it's not that person, if it's someone else, someone that trusts and knows that you're in a good thing. I know you're wanting to come to me and tell me all these issues, and there's things and there's struggles and there's things, but you need to go to someone who supports your marriage, not someone who's going to say, get rid of that loser. You know? Don't vent to someone who doesn't support your relationship. It's so important. Especially if it's your mom or your dad or a best friend that hears you complaining constantly, don't complain to that person if they're not going to support you fixing the issue that you're bringing to them.
Right. Because sometimes you just want to vent. It's not like you're not happy in your marriage. You just want to share or get something off your. Yeah, you should do it with another Christian or someone that, you know what I'm saying?
Someone who supports that is not partial. Yeah. And thank you, GoodSell Life, for coming, John. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. It was great. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
God bless.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I want to keep having talks like this because I think it's important that people be able to come and feel safe and talk about real stuff.
And
what I want you to do is take the quiz. I want to know. Come back and tell me what your love languages were.
Yeah.
Definitely will do.
Yeah, and I would love for you guys to do this again with me. I mean, don't feel like just because you've come on. I mean, this kind of stuff. There's all kinds of different
These
topics
are endless.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, listen to my bullet points, you guys. And if this something rings a bell and you're listening and it makes you, want to share. I said, planning for conflict. I said chores and responsibilities. So when you build a relationship with someone and you're going to move in together and live together, you need to communicate who is going to do the dishes, who is going to do the laundry, who's going to clean the toilet. Am I supposed to clean your toilet mess, or is that if there is children, when are we going to have children? How many? Who's going to discipline, and how are we going to discipline? Sex. How often? When is it going to be for a romantic reason or just a need? I mean, can we? You need to communicate these things. How are we going to resolve our issues? Are we going to fight tooth and nail and then come back? I mean, some people are fighters. Some people want to just scream and yell. Are we going to yell?
Oh, I hate that.
You got to talk with your partner about things like that.
Arguing. I'm like a peaceful person. And when I get hot, it's like I just want to run. Like, this is why I don't want to get married. That's why I love that saying that lady said. Marriage does not start when you say yes. It starts when you hate that person.
And you need to ask your partner, how do you resolve issues?
Right.
Give me an example of the last time you were in an argument. How did you act? Because you're gonna plan for conflict.
Yeah. I'm over the top.
Remi was talking about finances. Who does the bills? Are we going to have a budget? Are we just going to live check to check? Is there debt?
Yeah.
Major purchases.
Yeah.
I have someone who's addicted to buying cars.
Are there student loans? My son right now is realizing that the woman he's, having a baby with has a very low credit score and he has a very high credit score. And they're finding this out, and it's like, it's a little late to figure this out. So don't wait till it's too late,
I know.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Are you going to do your finances together or separately?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Career. Are we both going to have careers, or when we do have children, is one of us going to stay home? Are we going to keep our career? Are we going to do childcare?
Comes the time issue again.
Time, yeah.
Time, yeah.
Yeah. Your free time. When? What are we going to do when we're not together? And is it okay? Like, this is what I want to do. These are my hobbies. What are your hobbies?
Right.
So it's just so many things that we need to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you're with them, are you really with them? Or are you always looking at your cell phone?
Yes.
I started doing that.
Yeah.
Go back to my comments.
I don't like to have any electronics out during dinner.
Yeah. You can't.
Let's talk. Let's be present in the moment here.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of advice can you give me and Remi? Anything you can tell newlyweds like me and Remi? What can you suggest to keep the relationship going as long as yours? What do you think was the glue to that? Was it the communication? Was it just putting up with a lot of F stuff?
A lot of grace. A lot of grace.
Dang. So God.
And I say too, it's truth and grace. They have to go together, because you are going to point out the things that are wrong or the things that are bothering you. You have to have grace with the truth.
Yes.
It doesn't work. The two do not go separate. You have to have truth and grace together. You can't just tell somebody, you suck.
Right.
you got to say why you forgive them for sucking. And this is what I would rather you do.
And I would also add to that, if you're going to tell the person something like that, more than likely you're probably going to hear something back that you need to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remi, since you've been married, are you enjoying your marriage, or do you find that you enjoyed your relationship more when you weren't married?
Now currently I'm enjoying it way more than before I was married.
Good.
There was a rocky spot that led to that, but when I first got married, it seemed like all the romance and everything kind of stopped shortly after, kind of quick, and it was like, you know, what happened here?
Right,
Just
right.
like signing the contract and everything changed, but that was, you know, there was a lot of things going on. It wasn't just that, and
Right,
being newlyweds, that didn't last long anyway. So
right.
It never
makes
does.
sense. I think that happens to a lot, because like that kind of happened to Robert and myself in a sense, because we were so busy. Our mindset was different. It wasn't like I was going to
exactly.
place and
Well, we
laugh.
found out love is not an emotion, it's a decision. There's so many
Right.
times in
It
my
is.
marriage through the years that I asked God, help me fall in love again. And I had to look at my husband and say, I'm not in love with you. And I love you, but I don't like you. I mean, there's going to be so many
Right.
times where you love them, but you don't like them. And then you
That's-
have to ask yourself, what is it that I don't like about him anymore? And
Yeah.
I've had to ask God, help me fall in love again. And we all change too. I mean, you're
Right.
going to change. Life is going to change you. You're not always going to be the same person. Were you the same
Yeah.
person you were 10 years ago?
No, I wasn't the same person I
Absolutely
was
not.
3 years ago.
I say as you get older, it's like from year to year, you just
Yeah.
switch a whole new everything. You know,
Yeah.
the thoughts, the way you
Yeah.
talk.
And this is a topic I'm not gonna go into detail because I do want to have an actual new stream start on this, but it's the whole sleep divorce thing. Talking about change, my husband and I are currently sleep divorced because we can't sleep together anymore. Things have changed. I retired and I'm a night owl now, and we don't have kids that we gotta get up too early or wake up in the middle of the night with. And my husband needs to go to bed at 8:30, you know, and I can't go to bed at 8:30, and he was being woke up at 10:30 or 11 when I would climb in the room, you know, and then he couldn't fall back asleep, and it was causing an issue with us. So when we realized we had an empty room, our boys moved out. I'm like, hey, you know, we got an empty room up there. Why don't you go make that yourself?
My previous
Bedroom.
relationship was like that. The 10-year one, we could not sleep in the same bed. It was just,
Yeah.
mm-mm.
I think
It's
there's
like-
a lot of couples too that there's sleep apnea or snoring that gets involved, and there's couples that just
Or
you know, you
scheduling,
need
like
your sleep.
mine
It
was
doesn't
like
mean we
you.
don't love each other, you know, just because we're not
No.
sleeping together anymore. It's
Right.
wonderful. I go up. We have a 1.5 story, so I go upstairs and say goodnight to Jesse and say goodnight to Chris, and they shut their doors, and then I'm up for another 3 hours,
Right,
and I love it. And then I climb in my bed and I can sleep like this.
Real Talk has a question. She said, "Can you grow together even if you are intellectually on different levels?"
Yes.
I think that you have
Yes.
to work together to do that. But yeah, almost definitely. My husband's a very intelligent, computer smart guy, and I always tell him, "You're book smart, I'm street smart."
Right. Well, my husband, he does no social media. He doesn't like his phone. He doesn't have all the.
Yeah,
He
Chris is
doesn't
the
do
same
that.
way.
So
Same
I
way.
can get on YouTube, do videos, do this, do that, and he's totally, yeah. But we end up coming on the same level because we both love the Lord. So when we get into like this morning, we were probably talking about 1.5 hours talking about ancient Egypt and the Pharaoh and Joseph and the whole story and what we got out of that, and how different civilizations have fallen, and we just get on that intellect, and or sometimes we get into because he really likes politics, so we can go there. He gets a little bit more heated than I do, but I think it's funny. So I always tell him I serve a king. you know?
That's great. No, I mean my husband and I are on totally different intellect levels.
And you guys been together almost 30 years. That's
Mhm.
amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, and that's so cool to be able to be that for your kids. You know, that no matter what they complain about, say, look, you think me and your dad didn't have any problems? But we stuck it out. We are not quitters.
Yeah, I mean, and we still are. You know, there's a whole new phase. We're raising a daughter after raising 2 boys. I've not had a menstrual cycle since she's been born, and I don't know what I'm going to do when. I mean, that's going to be different when she starts getting hormones, and she, you know, my husband and I have not had to deal with that, and being in-laws. My husband and I are in-laws now. You know, we got to share our Christmases and our Thanksgivings. Like what? Please. Mother's Day for me. I mean, Mother's Day is a whole new ball game.
Yeah, Fitz Goddess says, "Me too, Kathy." yeah. Yeah. And
a lot of stuff still has to come and still has to be learned. So I'm no expert on anything yet. I'm still learning too.
I love learning from people. You know, people, especially successful people, that are still. Because I am one that will fight. I tried to fight for my first marriage. I just like, even though I feel like running, because that's just my own stuff. Because you don't want to. If you're not an argumentative person by nature, anyway, it's really uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like when you argue, it's uncomfortable. Some people love drama, so they can do it. That's their norm.
Yeah, but what I said earlier in the very, very beginning of the stream, it's a quote. I said, if you win an argument, the other one loses, and it is no fun to live with a loser. So I got to give in every once in a while.
That's a good thing to remember.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be a loser.
Yeah, nobody wants to live with a loser. Let them win every once in a while.
That's right.
Well, guys, I think this is a good stopping point.
Yeah.
And it's been so fun for me. It's very therapeutic for me. So I really appreciate you guys coming in, and Angel providing your phone number. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I don't answer.
Such a great idea.
I don't answer my phone, so.
Thank you for those who stuck with us in the chat, and I really appreciate it. Very, very excited. So thank you, everyone who came and joined, and thank you for promoting it, Angel. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Well, this is a wrap. I'm going to end the broadcast. Thank you.
All right. Good seeing you guys. Bye. Thanks for coming.
If you do want to have a real talk with me, be sure and hit me up on Twitter. If you look in the description of this video, you will find my link. Thanks for watching.